Hi, I'm James, and in today's video we're going to look at the Heroquest game system, the new 2021 edition, but also to consider who it's aimed for. So, this is the new edition, the 2021 edition. The artwork looks very much like the original, but there have been some subtle changes to reflect the way that the characters and the monsters are subtly different. Now, it's a pretty substantial box. You know, that sort of gives you a clue. Now, it's made by Avalon Hill. It's a reissue of the old Milton Bradley game. But there are some differences, so let's open it up and have a look. It's got some substantial weight to this. When you look inside, you'll see why. So the first thing we've got is a sleeve, which I'm going to come back to in a minute, and then we've got a second sleeve. Again, I'm going to put those to one side because they're going to form pretty much the bulk of the review. So if you remember the original rulebook, it was pretty similar. This one is pretty much word for word the same with a couple of little differences, but basically the text is the same, which still gives the problems with line of sight. I don't think anybody's ever come up with a simple answer for that one, but it's pretty much the same. Bit of new artwork, 22 pages of rules, so it's not a rules heavy system by any stretch of the imagination. Then we've got, in no particular order, we've got the, well, Dungeon Master screen, for want of a better word. Zargon is the bad guy. That's the same as the US edition of the game. As far as I'm concerned, it was a different one, and I'm desperately trying to remember the name. But it's basically similar, and it does follow the US rules. You can see there that they've got body points for some of the creatures, which you didn't get in the UK edition. In the UK edition, everything took one hit and died. So not exactly making it easier on you. So I like the little take note bits. They're quite useful, and it's just a very quick, simple summary of the rules. Nice artwork, very similar in style to the old artwork, but with new artwork, and we'll explain why there's all this new artwork in a minute. So we've then got some tiles and tokens for traps, block bits, skulls for damage. We've got the traditional stairs to come down, more blocks, secret doors, and a straight staircase. So that wasn't, I don't think, in the original. We've then got the quest book. Now this is printed on nice paper. We've got the introduction, and you then go into the quests, and altogether there are a total of 14 quests, so that's the same as the original. In fact, they are the same ones. Pretty straightforward. You know, it's nice and simply put together. We then get the board. Now, interestingly, this is smaller than the old board when folded. The old board, however, only folded in half. This has got a double fold, meaning the board is actually bigger. And the subtle differences now is these are now 1-inch squares. Now there's a benefit and a disadvantage to that. The benefit is that it's going to fit particularly modern figures a lot better. The downside is the fact that your old overlay tiles that you got in things like the Return of the Witch Lord will not fit on top. You would need the new editions of them. Okay, bit of an issue. Now the artwork looks very similar, but it is new artwork. It's very much been done in the style of the old game. and it does look nice. There's nothing wrong with that. So I can put that back into the box. I'll put these back into the box as well. And let's look at these sleeved bits then. So we've got two of these. Here's the first one. And it's the creatures and characters. So there are, I think, over 70 figures with this. So it's not like you're going to be short of figures. So let's have a look what we've got. We've got 4 adventurers, which are in red. And these are the same as the old set. We've got the barbarian, but notice it's a new sculpt, much more detailed. And it's a softer plastic than the old figures, but still reasonably tough. It's probably a much better plastic than we had before. We've got, oops, this is dropping it. We've got a very nice dwarf figure. Yeah, the weapons are the traditional unfeasibly large. But yeah, that's a very nice little figure. We've got the elf, who's now changed to female. The Kickstarter edition did have male and female for both. They have now released extra characters in the supplements where they've given the alternative sculpts, not just of the PCs but of the monsters as well. And then we've got the wizard. Okay, nice young wizard, slightly changed staff. We've now got the moon on it. That does look quite nice. Yeah, could easily work as a druid as well. It's a very nicely done character. So they're the good guys. So let's have a look at the undead first. So we've got 4 skeletons. It's a nice touch that they have scythes like we had on the very original version of the figures. They are a bit more equipped now though. They're wearing armour and some fragments of clothing which the original figures weren't. So yeah, we've got 4 of those. We've got 2 zombies. Yeah, they're quite nice. I like particularly the fact the sword's battered, the shield's got bits missing. You could have real fun painting that one up because the bit in the middle you could almost paint it up as a NATO symbol. So yeah, they're quite nice. We've got 2 mummies, a bit more animated than the old ones. I do quite like that. It does look a bit Scooby-Doo, for want of a better word for me, but yeah, they're quite nice. So they're the undead. The green skins, these had to be green, didn't they? We've got a female orc with what looks like a piece of bone in one hand and a rather ragged sword in the other. Yeah, they're more D&D than Warhammer, and that was one of the big things with this. Because Games Workshop weren't involved, they've had to move away from the Games Workshop bits, and we'll see a couple of examples of that in a minute. So we've then got a couple more female orcs, this time with giant maces, completely implausible but very much in sort of the style. Male orc, yeah, a bit more armour and very much almost an executioner's sword there. And of the orcs, this is probably my favourite. Swinging the 2-handed axe. Well, that's quite a nice little figure. So they're the orcs, 8 of them all together. They functionally are identical in game terms. And then we get the goblins. So we've got very much struck me as Pathfinder type goblins. So we've got goblin with dagger or short sword. We've then got female goblin with 2 daggers. That's a nice useful little figure. And then 2 goblins with cleavers. So they're quite nice. It's very much moved away from the Warhammer aesthetic to the D&D aesthetic. And then in the original they were the Femir, which were large reptilian type creatures with one eye in the middle of their forehead. They've got rid of that completely and shifted to this, the Abomination, which is very much a deep one in my eyes. Some people have said Sahogan. Yeah, these are going to be quite useful. They've got a lot of uses. Very odd looking weapon, spear with like almost an extra blade on it, and they are big. If I put it next to a standard human figure, you can see there is quite a size difference. So we have 3 of those, all identical. And then that leaves the grey figures. Now, we used to have the Chaos Knights, we've now got the Dread Knights. Very nice figures, heavy armour, but very, I don't know, it struck me as very much Conan the Barbarian from the Schwarzenegger film for some of the villains. So we've got 4 of those, all identical. We've then got the Gargoyle. Now that's been subtly changed from the original. It's much more animated than the original, which always struck me as like a wrestler, but they have changed the weapon. They've kept the same serrated sword, but we've got rid of the whip and we've got an axe in it. Okay, that's quite a nice enough little figure. It's probably got a fair few uses. And we've got this guy, the Witch King. Very nice. Very slim compared to sort of your typical villain figure, but I like that one. That's a really nice figure. You've then got the dice. Now the dice are a bit better than the old ones. The old ones used to be wooden. These are plastic, and the detail is recessed so that it's less likely to wear off. So we've got 6 of the special combat dice, and as far as I'm aware, this was the first game that had unique dice. It sort of started that trend. And then there's 2 red dice, which are your standard D6s. So you get that. That's quite a few figures in there. So let's just put the lid back on that, slip it back into the sleeve. So that's the first sleeve, and there you've got a good variety of figures and some nice detail on them. So what's in the other one? Well, this is what I refer to as the furniture set. So we've got the doors, and you've got, let's go straight, 5 closed doors. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 open doors. Because in the game, as soon as you come to a closed door and open it, it can't then be reclosed. Now they're nice, very dread portal for want of a better description. You've got a sort of rune above it, you've got vines growing up. Yeah, they're quite nice, I do like them. Now, if you remember the first edition, you used to have plastic furniture, but it had cardboard sides or whatever to sort of make them up. So we've got 2 bookcases, and I believe they're identical. Let's have a look. Yep, they are. Bowing under the weight. Now, I do like the fact the details on the back as well. So when you look at them from whatever angle, yeah, they do look right. So we've got 2 bookcases. These are a fraction smaller than the old ones, whereas the figures are a fraction larger, but it's nothing drastic. So we've then got a cupboard, and again detail on the back. We've got a very nice little sarcophagus which actually opens, so I do like that one. We've got a fireplace with a nice little space there for a painting or something to go on it, and then on the back you got the brickwork. That's very nice. We've got 3 chests which I guarantee will get checked for traps by players, simply because they're used to seeing mimics. We've got a table with alchemy type material on it, so we've got bottles, we've got drawers. I mean, you could use that as a generic desk quite easily. We've then got a weapon rack, which looks almost identical to the original, but it's that softer plastic, so it's got more chance of surviving. And I like the touch that the 2 shields are the good guy and bad guy shields. That's a very nice little touch. We've got 2 very nice tables. I do like those. I mean, even detailed on the underside. And again, another really nice item. We've got the throne or the chair. That's so much better than the old card and plastic version. We've got the rack. Yeah, that's quite nice. Looks a bit short for the figures, but I don't think that's a major issue. And we've got the altar complete with candles and a book. A lot more detail on that than on the original one. For example, this one's got a bookmark. So those are your furniture items, which if you've played the game before you'll be familiar with. You'll also remember you used to get in the original version little holes in them to plug things in. So we've got some skulls, and we've got on that one we've got 2 human and 2 non-human skulls, and that's repeated across all 3 sets. So you've got 12 skulls that you can add in. They're not put to make a hole, to go into holes now. They are going to be glue on, so they're an option. And we also have some rats as well, 4 rats. Don't know what I'm going to do with them yet. I can see them getting used on Skaven bases, or even put on their own little base. Do some small bases. So what else have we got? We've got the pack of character sheets, and you know, they're not skimping on the character sheets, even though they're actually fairly straightforward. You don't really need a huge amount of detail. You can just record a scrap of paper. And then we get the card set. You can see the art on the card backs is very new, similar and inspired by the old ones, but it is a new artwork. It's nice thick card. It's got that lovely textured feel to it. So let's go through and see what we've got. We've got 4 cards that are intended to give to each hero player, so it tells you what they can do, the movement and the action, how they all work. You've then got 4 cards for the heroes. These are a lot smaller than the old ones, about half the size I think, and it tells you on the back a little bit of text about the characters. There is actually a rule or 2 on, because the dwarf, for example, says about you can try and disarm traps without the toolkit, what you have to roll, and all the stats are on the front. So that they are basically exactly the same as the old game. You've then got your next set of cards, which are the creature cards. So basically 1 card per creature in the game. Just looking. Yeah, there doesn't appear to be one for the Witch King, but I think that's because he gets completely different stats written into the adventure book. So we've got those. We then get a few artifact cards. Now these are the really powerful magic items that you can acquire through the game. And there's things like Borin's armour. Now the art is not the same as the original version, it's just very, very similar. So you get all the bits and pieces in there, all the ones that you'd expect. You've then got the equipment cards, quite a few equipment cards, with duplicates of some of them. So you got 2 battle axes, bracer, because that'll usually only be used by the wizard, there's only 1 of those, and so on. So you've got all these are the crossbows, the dagger, hand axes, 3 helmets because 3 heroes can have them, 2 long swords. So they are pretty straightforward. Some of the characters start with them already, so that's that. You then get the, like I said, every time the word chaos is in the game it's been removed, and you get the dread spells. So these are the spells that the Zargon player gets to use. So yeah, things like summoning undead and rust to remove items, fear so you're not as good at attacking. So you get those. Now that was something that wasn't in the UK version of the game, but obviously was in the American version, and that's what they've used. What we've then got are the spells, and there's 4 suits: earth, air, fire and water. And the idea behind that, we're missing one there, air, fire, earth, yeah, 3 water ones there. So what happens with these is the wizard picks 1 set of 3, the elf then picks a set, and the wizard gets the last 2. So the elf is a dabbler in magic, the wizard is quite pronounced in it. So those are the the spells that you get, and they are tailored to the elements. And then you've got the treasure deck. So when you're searching, you might find treasures like gems, gold, hazards, jewels, portions of healing, and wandering monsters. A random monster turns up and attacks you. So that's what you get within the game. So it is very impressive as a set. There is a lot to it. Now, the question to ask then is it good value for money? Well, normally this retails for about £80 to £100. There is a lot of content for that, but is it worth it? I'm not convinced. I got this for £50, it was on sale on Amazon, and I think that was an absolute bargain. I think that was well worth picking up. Now, who's it aimed at? Let's think a little bit about that. Well, the box says 2 to 5 players, 14 plus. Okay, now that's an interesting change. The original game was 9 plus, and if you look at the adverts from the time, they was definitely aimed at that sort of age. It was designed to be quick and simple. And it was really intended almost as a gateway game into things like Dungeons and Dragons. This edition, I don't think it's aimed at that sort of person anymore. I think, and I did a bit of looking around, it is substantially, relatively more expensive. The original game you could pick up for about £13. That was reasonable. That was affordable at that sort of age. This is not something your kid is going to go out and buy. I think this is actually aimed at adults, and it's aimed at the nostalgia group. Now, I did play this, but I was quite late to it. I came at it from role-playing and so on. I was at university when this was out. It wasn't a university level game, you know, 9 plus. I did enjoy it and play it with sort of family afterwards, but it's not aimed at people like, well, it wasn't then aimed at people like me. I would say now it quite possibly is. So there's no rule changes, which again to me implies nostalgia value. The figures are much more D&D based, not Games Workshop. So there's a subtle change as well. Hasbro having something to do with that. So I think it's a nostalgia value. Now, it does surprise me how many supplements have come out for it. I will be interested to see if it's going to last long term, because that's obviously perhaps one of the big issues. Now, there is something that I think has made a big change with this, and it's probably the biggest, most radical change, and it's not obvious, and in fact it contradicts the box. This is aimed at 2 to 5 players, but Hasbro have actually created an app. Now, it does require the board game to play, but you basically create your party, and as a nice touch you can actually put all of the characters from these expansions in. They seem to be adding those in, and you can then go into each of the adventures. So if, for example, I click on the trial, okay, it gives me the background, and then because I've already started it, it's already set up. What you do is you move the figures on it, and it brings up the new areas that you can see. Now that's really, really good. Let's go up, let's move that character up to the room, and if you do find a trap or anything, then it actually tells you. Now what it doesn't do is roll the dice for your move, so you've got to do that normally. And do I want to open the door? I'll say yes. So it opens the door, shows me what furniture to put in there and what monsters. Once I've finished, what I do is click on Zargon's turn, and it actually does the move and attack for me. So what it can do, you can either roll the dice or you can let the system do it. And it shows me that I've got 3 hits. It asks me to roll my defend dice, tells me what I need, and then track any changes. Now if I attack back, I've got the other one to move here, he can't get close enough. So let's go back to the elf. Click on the elf, and what we'll do, action. So it gives me all the different options. I'm just going to do a basic attack. Okay. Gives me the information on that there. Allegedly, here we go. Tells me what to do, which is roll my dice. Tells me how it all works. Notice though it's not rolling them for me. And what I can then do is click on it, and I've done 2 points of damage, say. Put that on, and it tracks it for me. If I hit it again then, it now tells me it's defeated. So it's quite nice to do it, because now this means I can play Heroquest solo. Now I'm a big solo gamer. I think this is going to be quite a useful little thing. And what I will do is set up a scenario and run 1 or 2 of the adventures just to show you how well the system plays. Very simple, but I also think it's good multiplayer, and I intend to introduce my grandkids to this, and we're going to see just how well they can cope with it. Is it as simple as I remember? Is it more suitable for 9+, or is it more suitable for 14+? We'll have to wait and see. See you soon for another video. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please click on the like button below so that I know what people like and I know what to make more of. Alternatively, if you've enjoyed it and think you'd like to see more, please click on the subscribe button. That way you get notified by YouTube whenever I bring out a new video. And you never know, there might be something in there that you hadn't considered, because I do cover a variety of things on the channel. And finally, if you have a little bit of cash going, I now have a Patreon account. I'm always looking for patrons, because at the end of the day, let's be perfectly honest, it's a good way for me to get a little bit of money that I'll use to buy review items or to travel to museums and so on. I don't put a huge amount on that. At the minute, all we've got is 1 tier charging £1 a month, which just, as I said, helps cover my costs. See you soon.